The soft patter of rain against the ancient London walls woke Jai-ho from his peaceful sleep. The little mouse blinked his eyes slowly, enjoying the warmth of his smart fabric blanket. His home was small but perfect, hidden between the walls of an old building that had stood for hundreds of years. Jai-ho's whiskers twitched as he smelled something nice coming from next door. The scent made his stomach rumble. His tiny apartment was filled with the gentle blue light from his holographic windows, which showed a peaceful rainy morning even though they were deep inside the building's walls. "Good morning, Om," Jai-ho said in his quiet voice. The lights in his room slowly grew brighter, and his favorite morning music began to play softly. The smart home system was designed just for mice like him, with sounds at the perfect volume for their sensitive ears. As he stretched and got out of bed, his communication device lit up with a message. It was from his neighbor and good friend. "Hey Newell, I made too many cheese muffins again," the message read. "Would you like to come over for breakfast?" Jai-ho smiled. Hey Newell was always making too many treats, but everyone knew she just loved sharing her cooking with her friends. She was one of the best mouse chefs in this part of London, mixing old mouse recipes with new cooking technology. The floor was warm under Jai-ho's paws as he walked to his bathroom. Everything in his home was sized just right for a mouse, from the tiny sink to the shower that used special water drops sized for creatures as small as him. He quickly washed his face and brushed his fur, making sure his whiskers were neat and tidy. In his bedroom, Jai-ho opened his closet. The smart fabric clothes inside could change color and warmth depending on the weather. He picked out a comfortable blue work shirt and a warm jacket. The jacket had tiny pockets filled with useful tools for his job as a mouse engineer. As he got dressed, Jai-ho looked around his cozy home. The walls were covered with family pictures showing 3 generations of his mouse family. In one photo, his grandfather stood proudly in front of the first mouse-sized computer. In another, his parents smiled at his graduation from the tiny London engineering school. His home might look strange to humans who didn't know about mouse technology. Tiny screens showed the weather and news. Small robots kept everything clean. But it also had things any mouse would love. Soft corners to curl up in, warm spots near the building's pipes, and plenty of places to store food. A gentle ping sound told Jai-ho that Hey Newell was waiting. He checked his reflection one last time in the mirror. A young mouse with light brown fur looked back at him. His whiskers were straight, his blue shirt was neat, and his black eyes were bright and ready for the day. Jai-ho stepped out into the mouse-sized hallway that ran through the building's walls. The hall lights turned on automatically as he walked, lighting up the way to Hey Newell's door. Other mice were starting their day too. He waved to old Mr. Tawan, who was checking the building's tiny power lines, making sure all the mouse homes had electricity. The smell of fresh cheese muffins got stronger as he reached Hey Newell's door. He could hear her humming inside as she worked in her kitchen. Jai-ho pressed the small doorbell, which played a soft, pleasant tune. The door opened, and warm light spilled into the hallway. Hey Newell stood there with a bright smile, wearing her favorite cooking apron. Behind her, Jai-ho could see her kitchen, where both old and new tools worked together. A traditional mouse-sized oven sat next to a modern food printer that could make any ingredient the perfect size for mice. Come in, Hey Newell said warmly. "The muffins just came out of the oven. And I've made some morning tea with honey from the rooftop bee farm." As Jai-ho stepped into his friend's warm, sweet-smelling home, he felt happy. This was how every morning should start, with good food, good friends, and the gentle sound of rain outside their cozy mouse world. After finishing his breakfast with Hey Newell, Jai-ho walked to the nearest mouse transit system, MTS, station. The station was a small, clean space built into the wall, with soft lighting that was gentle on mouse eyes. Signs with clear pictures showed the different train lines, each marked with a different color to make them easy to understand. Jai-ho touched his travel card to the tiny scanner. The gate made a happy beeping sound and opened smoothly. The platform was already busy with other small animals heading to work. Mice in business clothes stood next to hamsters carrying tiny briefcases, and a few well-dressed rats checked their small computers. The rain continued outside, but down here in the mouse subway, everything was warm and dry. Ji-ho checked the big screen showing train times. His train would arrive in 2 minutes. These trains were special. They used magnetic power to float above the tracks, which made them very quiet and smooth. Ji-ho, over here, called a friendly voice. Ji-ho turned to see Yi-jun, his hamster friend who worked as a scientist. Yi-jun was wearing his white lab coat and carrying a small bag filled with papers. Are you heading to the Microtech Center too? Good morning, Yi-jun, Ji-ho replied with a smile. Yes, I have some important tests to run today. How is your quantum research going? Before Yi-jun could answer, their train arrived. It looked like a silver bullet, smooth and shiny. The doors opened with a soft swish, and all the small animals walked inside in a neat line. The train cars were designed to be comfortable for everyone. There were seats of different sizes, special holders for tails, and small platforms for shorter animals to stand on. Ji-ho and Yi-jun found seats next to a window. These windows were special. They could show what was happening in the human world above them. As the train started moving, they could see human feet walking on the streets and the bottoms of umbrellas passing by in the rain. Look at that, Yi-jun said, pointing to a screen inside the train. They're opening a new cheese shop in Piccadilly Station next week. It will have sizes for both humans and mice. The train moved smoothly through the tunnels. At each station, the lights got brighter slowly so no one's eyes would hurt. The station names were announced in a soft voice, and pictures on the walls helped everyone know where they were. As they traveled, Ji-ho and Yi-jun talked about their work. Yi-jun was studying very small things called atoms, trying to make better computers for animals their size. Ji-ho told him about the new medical tools he was designing for mouse doctors. It's amazing how far we've come, Yi-jun said, looking at the beautiful station they were passing through. My grandfather used to tell me stories about when mice had to run through dirty pipes and dodge human feet to get anywhere. The train passed through a clear tunnel section where they could see the human subway running above them. Giant trains thundered by, but in the mouse train, they could barely hear them. Some young mice pressed their noses against the windows, excited to see the big trains. At one stop, a group of tourist mice from America got on, talking excitedly about visiting Big Ben. They had tiny cameras and guidebooks and were taking pictures of everything. Ji-ho smiled, remembering how excited he had been on his first train ride as a young mouse. Finally, the train arrived at the Hyde Park station. The platform here was extra special, with beautiful paintings of famous mouse scientists and inventors on the walls. Ji-ho and Yi-jun got off the train together, joining the crowd of mice and other small animals heading to work at the Microtech Center. Another perfect trip, Ji-ho said as they walked up the small escalator. It's nice to live in a time when mice can travel so easily and safely. Yi-jun nodded in agreement. And to think, this is just the beginning. Wait until I tell you about the new travel system I'm working on in my lab. They walked through the station's exit gates, ready to start their workday. Above them, through special clear panels in the ceiling, they could see the rain making patterns on the park's paths, while they stayed warm and dry in their perfectly sized mouse world. The Hyde Park Microtech Center stood like a small crystal palace among the flowers. To humans walking by, it looked like a beautiful garden decoration, but for mice and other small animals, it was one of the most important research centers in London. Ji-ho walked through the main entrance, which had doors that could change size for different animals. The lobby was warm and bright, with soft green plants growing along the walls. The floor had special paths with different textures to help guide visitors. Smooth paths led to offices, rough paths went to laboratories, and dotted paths showed the way to meeting rooms. At the security desk, Ji-ho pressed his paw on a tiny scanner. A green light blinked, and a friendly voice said, "Welcome, Engineer Jai-ho. Dr. Williams is waiting for you in Laboratory 3. Jai-ho took the mouse-sized elevator up to the third floor. The elevator had clear walls, letting him see the whole building as he went up. Other scientists were already busy at work. Through one window, he saw a group of mice testing new running wheels that could generate power. Through another, he watched hamsters studying tiny robots. Laboratory 3 was Jai-ho's favorite place. It was where he worked with his human partner, Dr. Emma Williams, to make tools that helped small animals use human-sized machines. As he entered, he saw Dr. Williams sitting at her desk, looking through a special microscope that helped her see things at mouse size. "Good morning, Jai-ho," Dr. Williams said softly. She always remembered to speak quietly around her mouse colleagues. "How was your commute?" Jai-ho walked onto a raised platform that brought him up to desk level. "It was very nice. Thank you," he replied through the special translator that made his mouse voice clear to human ears. "The new train lines are working perfectly." Today, they were testing a new invention, a control panel that would let mouse doctors use human medical equipment. Jai-ho put on his safety gear, a tiny white coat and special goggles. Dr. Williams carefully placed a new machine on the testing table. "This is the smallest we could make it," she explained, pointing to the control panel. It was still big compared to Jai-ho, but much smaller than regular human controls. "Do you think it will be comfortable for mouse doctors to use?" Jai-ho walked around the device, checking every part carefully. He pressed buttons, turned handles, and tested all the controls. Everything had to be just right. Not too hard to push, not too far to reach. Mouse doctors would use this to help both mouse and human patients. "The main control stick needs to be softer," Jai-ho said, making notes on his tiny computer. "And this emergency button should be raised a bit higher. But the basic design is very good." As they worked, other mice joined them. Sung-min, the computer expert, checked the device's programming. Da-hyun, the architect, suggested ways to make it fit better in mouse-sized hospitals. Everyone worked together, sharing ideas and solving problems. Through the laboratory's windows, Jai-ho could see the rain making the park's flowers dance. The sight made him smile. It reminded him of how his grandfather used to tell stories about the old days, when mice had to hide from humans. Now, here he was, working with a human friend to make the world better for everyone. Dr. Williams noticed him looking outside. "Beautiful rain today," she said. "Would you like to take a break? I brought some of those tiny cookies you like." Jai-ho nodded happily. This was why he loved his job. Not just the interesting work, but how everyone, big and small, treated each other with kindness and respect. As he shared cookies with his human friend, he thought about all the amazing things they would create together. At midday, Jai-ho left the Microtech Center for his lunch break. The rain continued to fall softly on Hyde Park, creating a peaceful atmosphere. He made his way to his favorite place, Myre's Cafe, a charming establishment nestled within a quiet corner of an old bookshop. The cafe occupied a carefully renovated space behind the bookshop's walls. Myre, the owner and head chef, had transformed it into a welcoming haven for small animals. The entrance featured a beautifully carved wooden door with a small bell that rang gently when customers entered. As Jai-ho stepped inside, warm light and delicious smells greeted him. The cafe's windows, though hidden within the walls, used special technology to show the rainy park outside. The sound of rain created a soothing backdrop to the quiet conversations of the lunch crowd. "Jai-ho, welcome," Myre called from behind the counter. She wore a crisp white apron and had a friendly smile on her face. Her cafe combined traditional mouse cuisine with scaled-down versions of human dishes, creating unique and delicious meals. The cafe's interior demonstrated thoughtful design. Small round tables made from polished acorn caps dotted the space. Comfortable chairs, crafted from soft materials, welcomed tired workers. Along the walls, tiny paintings showed scenes from both mouse and human London. Today's special is mushroom soup with tiny grilled cheese sandwiches, Mayray explained. I used that new food scaling technology to make perfect mouse-sized portions of human bread. And the cheese is from the new shop in Camden Market. Jaiho chose a quiet table near a window. Through the special glass, he could watch human feet splashing through puddles while staying warm and dry. A young mouse server named Bora brought him a menu written in clear, simple text with beautiful pictures. While Jaiho read the menu, more customers arrived seeking shelter from the rain. He recognized several colleagues from the Microtech Center. Two hamster scientists discussed their latest research while enjoying miniature salads. A family of mice celebrated their youngest member's first day of school with special tiny cakes. "May I join you?" asked a familiar voice. Jaiho looked up to see Yi Jun, his friend from the morning train. The hamster scientist held a tray with a steaming bowl of soup. "The rain always makes me want to visit Mayray's cafe too." They shared a pleasant lunch, talking about their morning work. Jaiho ordered the special, and Mayray brought it herself, proudly explaining how she had prepared each item. The soup came in a tiny porcelain bowl with swirling patterns, and the grilled cheese sandwich was cut into perfect mouse-sized triangles. The cafe's atmosphere grew cozier as the rain outside fell harder. Mayray turned on additional soft lights and put on quiet music. She moved between tables, making sure everyone felt comfortable and warm. When a young mouse came in completely wet, she quickly provided a tiny towel and a free cup of hot tea. "This is why I love coming here," Yijun said, watching Mayray help another customer. "It's not just the food, it's how she makes everyone feel at home." Jaiho agreed, enjoying the last bites of his perfectly sized sandwich. Through the window, he could see humans in the bookshop hurrying to stay dry, while inside the wall, mice and hamsters enjoyed their peaceful lunch break. As their lunch hour drew to a close, Mayray brought them small cups of her special afternoon tea. The warm drink had just the right amount of honey, and she had added a tiny piece of candied flower petal on top. It was these small, thoughtful details that made her cafe special. "Come back soon," Mayray called as Jaiho and Yijun prepared to leave. "Tomorrow I'm trying a new recipe, mouse-sized pizza." The thought of tomorrow's lunch made Jaiho smile as he stepped back into the hallway, ready to return to his afternoon work. After lunch, Jaiho returned to the Microtech Center for his afternoon meeting with his mouse engineering team. The rain continued to create pleasant patterns on the windows as he walked into the mouse-sized conference room. The room featured comfortable chairs made from soft materials, and the walls displayed screens showing their current projects. Sungmin, the computer expert, was already there, setting up his tiny presentation device. His whiskers twitched with excitement as he arranged his notes. Next to him, Da-hyun, the architect, spread out detailed blueprints across the table. The blueprints showed plans for new mouse homes that would fit perfectly within human buildings. "Today we're reviewing the new living space designs," Da-hyun explained as Jaiho took his seat. He pointed to a drawing of a beautiful mouse apartment complex. "We want to make homes that keep our mouse culture while using the best new technology." The team gathered around the table as Sungmin started his presentation. The screens lit up with images of their latest project, a smart mouse city within the walls of a historic London building. The plans showed tiny gardens, comfortable homes, and special paths that would let mice travel safely. "The walls will have smart fabric that changes temperature," Sungmin explained, showing them a small sample. He pressed a button, and the fabric became warm. "This will keep everyone comfortable in winter and summer." "And look at this." He pressed another button, making tiny lights appear in the fabric, like stars. Jaiho watched as his friends shared more ideas. Da-hyun had designed special rooms that could change size, so mouse families could make their homes bigger or smaller as needed. Sungmin had created a computer system that would help mice find their way around the building and talk to their neighbors. As they worked, Dr. Williams stopped by their conference room. She looked through a special lens that helped her see their small-scale models clearly. "This is wonderful work," she said softly. "May I share these ideas with the human architects? They could help us make buildings that work better for everyone." The afternoon passed quickly as the team tested their ideas. They built tiny model rooms and tried different materials. Jeho helped solve problems, like making sure the new homes would have enough storage space for winter food supplies, just as mice had always needed. "We should add more windows," Jeho suggested, drawing on a small piece of paper. "Mice like to watch the world outside, but we also need to feel safe." The others nodded in agreement, and Da-hyun quickly updated the blueprints. Through the windows, they could see the rain starting to slow down. The afternoon light made the water drops shine like tiny jewels. Inside their cozy conference room, the team continued their work, excited about making better homes for mice everywhere. Near the end of the afternoon, they tested a new feature, a tiny garden system that would let mice grow their own food inside the walls. "Just like our ancestors did in the fields," Jeho said, watching as a small plant grew in their test box. "But now we can do it safely inside our homes." As they finished their work for the day, some men saved all their plans in the computer, while Da-hyun carefully rolled up the blueprints. Their ideas would help make life better for mice all over London, combining the old ways they loved with new technology that made everything easier. "Good work, everyone," Jeho said as they packed up their things. The rain had almost stopped now, leaving behind a fresh, clean smell that even they could notice inside the building. "Tomorrow we'll start building the first test home." His friend smiled, proud of what they had created together. The evening brought a special treat as Jeho made his way to the tiny Royal Opera House, located in a beautiful corner of Covent Garden. The building was a perfect small copy of the human-sized opera house above, complete with tiny golden decorations and soft red carpets. The evening rain had settled into a gentle mist, making the opera house's warm lights glow invitingly. Inside the entrance hall, mice and other small animals dressed in their finest clothes gathered in excited groups. Jeho wore his special evening jacket, which changed color slightly in the light. He had received his ticket as a gift from Yuri, a mouse music teacher who helped organize these special events. "Jeho, over here," Yuri called from near the refreshment table. She wore a lovely dress that sparkled as she moved. "I saved you a seat in the perfect spot to watch both the mouse performers and the human orchestra above." The tiny Royal Opera House had been built with clever engineering. Through special clear panels in the ceiling, the audiences could see the human musicians in the main opera house while staying safe and comfortable in their own space. The sound system brought the music down perfectly, adjusted to mouse ears. "Tonight is very special," Yuri explained as they found their seats. "We're combining mouse acrobatics with human classical music. The performers have been practicing for months to match their movements exactly with the music." The inside of the theater was beautiful. Hundreds of tiny lights that looked like stars hung from the ceiling. The seats were arranged in neat rows, each one just the right size for a mouse or hamster to sit comfortably. Some rats sat in special boxes near the back, where they could see well without blocking anyone's view. As the lights dimmed, the human orchestra above began to play soft music. Then, on the small stage below, mouse acrobats appeared. They wore shining costumes and moved with amazing grace. They jumped and twirled through tiny swings and ropes, making shapes that matched the music perfectly. "Look at that," Yuri whispered, pointing to a young mouse performer who was spinning through the air. "That's one of my students. She practiced every day for 6 months to learn that move." The show combined old mouse circus skills with new technology. Some performers used special light-up ropes that changed color with the music. Others danced on platforms that floated in the air using the same magnetic system as the mouse trains. Everything worked together to create something magical. During the break, Jeho and Yuri went to the lobby for refreshments. They had tiny cups of sweet flower nectar and small cookies decorated with edible gold. Around them, other audience members talked excitedly about the show. A group of young mice practiced some of the simple dance moves they had seen. "It's wonderful how we can share art with humans now," Yuri said, watching the orchestra above through the clear ceiling. "Even though they don't know we're here, we can enjoy their music, and we add our own special performance to it." The second half of the show was even more impressive. The mouse acrobats performed a story about the changing seasons, using silk ribbons to make shapes like falling leaves and snowflakes. The human music seemed to tell the same story, though the humans didn't know about their tiny audience below. As the show ended, everyone stood to clap. The mouse performers bowed, their costumes glittering in the lights. Above, the human audience was also clapping for their orchestra, creating a wonderful moment where both worlds celebrated together, even if the humans didn't know it. After the wonderful performance at the tiny Royal Opera House, Jai-ho began his journey home through London's evening streets. The rain had returned, falling steadily but gently. The mouse walkways, built carefully within the walls and under the sidewalks, kept him dry and safe as he walked. These walkways were one of the greatest achievements of mouse engineering. They had special covers that protected small animals from water while letting them see the beautiful city lights above. The paths glowed softly, helping mice find their way home in the dark. Small heating elements in the floor kept the walks warm and dry even on the coldest nights. As Jai-ho walked, he thought about how much life had changed for mousekind. His grandfather had told him stories about the old days, 50 years ago, when mice had to run quickly between hiding places, always worried about humans or cats seeing them. Now they had their own world, carefully built alongside the human one. The sound of the rain made everything feel peaceful. Through the clear covers above, Jai-ho could see human umbrellas passing by, their colors mixing with the streetlights to make beautiful patterns. The city looked magical from a mouse's point of view, especially on rainy nights like this. Near the entrance to the underground station, Jai-ho noticed a young mouse having trouble. The little one was standing nervously at the edge of a walkway, staring at his tiny device. Jai-ho recognized him as Enho, who had just started working at one of the mouse bakeries near his home. "Is everything all right?" Jai-ho asked, approaching carefully so he wouldn't startle the younger mouse. "My weather protection isn't working," Enho explained, showing Jai-ho his personal force field device. These small devices created invisible shields that protected mice from water drops when they had to cross open spaces. "I think the battery is dead, and I need to cross the garden path to get home." Jai-ho smiled kindly and reached into his jacket pocket. He always carried a spare battery for emergencies like this. "Here," he said, helping Enho change the battery in his device. "My team helped design these. They work better if you charge them every morning." The young mouse's eyes lit up as the force field flickered to life, creating a tiny dry space around him. "Thank you so much," Enho said. "My grandmother told me that before these devices, mice had to wait for the rain to stop or risk getting completely wet." Together, they walked along the garden path that led to their neighborhood. Jai-ho told Enho stories about the early days of mouse technology, when the first engineers were just figuring out how to make things like force fields and smart homes. The younger mouse listened with great interest, asking clever questions about how everything worked. As they walked, other mice passed by, everyone helping each other stay dry and safe. Some carried tiny umbrellas made from flower petals and special water-resistant materials. Others wore rain jackets that changed color to match their surroundings, another invention that helped keep mice safe. Near their homes, they passed one of the new history displays that had been set up to teach young mice about their past. It showed pictures of how mice used to live, alongside images of their modern world. Jai-ho stopped for a moment, feeling proud of how far they had come while still keeping the important parts of mouse culture alive. "We've built something wonderful," Jai-ho said softly, more to himself than to Enho. "A world where mice can be safe, happy, and still true to who we are." The rain continued to fall gently above them as they walked the final steps to their homes, protected by the clever engineering that made mouse life so comfortable in the modern world. Jai-ho arrived at his apartment as the evening grew late. The familiar warmth of his home greeted him as he stepped through his front door. His smart home system had already adjusted the temperature and lighting to create the perfect cozy atmosphere for the end of the day. The holographic windows still showed the gentle rain outside, making his comfortable home feel even more welcoming. "Home system's on," Jai-ho said softly. The tiny lights came on gradually, casting a warm glow throughout his rooms. His evening music began to play, the sound of soft piano notes mixing perfectly with the rain sounds from his windows. The effect was exactly what he needed after his full day. In his kitchen, Jai-ho prepared his evening tea using the special brewing system that Mai-Ray had helped design for mouse homes. The machine made tiny cups of tea that were just the right size for mice, with temperature controls that kept the water at the perfect warmth. He chose his favorite chamomile blend, watching as the small streams of hot water turned golden in his cup. While his tea brewed, Jai-ho checked his communication device. Several messages had arrived during his walk home. Hae-Newell had sent him a picture of tomorrow's breakfast menu, showing tiny croissants that made his mouth water just looking at them. Sung-min and Da-hyun had shared the final versions of their day's work on the new mouse homes. Dr. Williams had sent a kind message thanking him for his help with the medical equipment testing. Jai-ho smiled as he read through the messages. He remembered how, not so long ago, mice could only communicate by leaving marks and squeaks for each other. Now they could share pictures, send messages, and stay connected no matter where they were in the city. It made their community stronger while keeping the close friendships that mice had always valued. Taking his tea to his favorite reading corner, Jai-ho settled into his smart fabric armchair. The chair adjusted its softness and warmth to match his preferences perfectly. On his small bookshelf, he had both traditional mouse stories written on tiny paper and new electronic books that could change their text size. He chose an old favorite, a story his grandmother used to tell about clever mice helping each other through hard times. Through his windows, he could see the city lights glowing in the rain. The view reminded him of all the wonderful things that had happened during his day. Breakfast with Hae-Newell, working with Dr. Williams, lunch at Mai-Ray's cafe, creating new homes with his team, enjoying the beautiful show with Yuri, and helping young Eun-ho get home safely. As he prepared for sleep, Jai-ho went through his evening routine. He changed into his comfortable night clothes, which the smart fabric kept at just the right temperature. His bathroom mirror showed him weather predictions for tomorrow as he brushed his teeth, promising another peaceful rainy day. In his bedroom, Jai-ho set his alarm for the morning and adjusted his holographic windows to show a gentle nighttime rain scene. The sound of soft raindrops would help him sleep peacefully. His bed welcomed him with perfectly warmed blankets, and his pillow adjusted to support his head just right. Before closing his eyes, Jai-ho sent one last message to his friends and family through the neural network. "Good night, everyone. Thank you for another wonderful day." Happy responses came back quickly. Sweet dreams from Hae-Newell, peaceful rest wishes from Yuri, and a reminder about tomorrow's meeting from Sung-min. As Jai-ho drifted off to sleep, he felt grateful for his cozy home, his caring friends, and the amazing world that mice and humans had built together. The gentle rain continued to fall outside, its peaceful sound mixing with the quiet hum of his comfortable mouse-sized home, creating the perfect lullaby for a tired but happy mouse.